Again, know it's late. So thank you guys for staying up with us here tonight. Excited to be able to add Christian Gonzalez to the team. This is a true junior, but a player that we have certainly been on here for the last year with Tony Conquilla as our West National scout. Living out in Boise, knowing the Pac-12 really well from Christian's time at Colorado, and then moving with Coach Martin, Demetrius Martin from Colorado to Oregon. Tony, Chris Caminetti, those guys were on Christian early. Younger player, but certainly a guy who we've spent a lot of time watching here over the last year with the eye of him possibly coming out early. So to be able to pick up Christian and pick up an extra fourth-round pick, feel very encouraged by day one.
I see 6 hands raised. We're going to try to keep this relatively fast-paced here, so we'll probably just keep this to 6 or 7 questions. We'll start with Zach Cox, followed by Chris Mason.
Hi, Matt. Given some of the pre-draft projections, were you at all surprised that Christian was available where he was, and what made him the right pick for you guys there at 17?
Talked a little bit about that, on the pre-draft press conference. These mock drafts, they're all well and good. And look, we try and gather as much information as we can from the different teams, our friends, our colleagues here across the league. I'd say overall there's probably was some surprise that he, lasted as long as he did. But we just we've got our players, stacked the way we've got them. We can't predict what anybody else is going to do. We try and get as good a feeling for that as possible. And then, when you've got a certain amount of players that you still feel comfortable with there in the first round, to be able to go ahead and pick up that extra pick. It was a great job by, Pat Stewart being in contact with different teams and Elliot Wolf, working with the Steelers and moving back and still being able to pick up Christian.
Next question, Chris Mason, followed by Jim McBride.
Hey, Matt. So obviously on a night like tonight, the number one priority is to make your team better. But how much are you thinking about what other teams in the division are doing too? Where, it seems like trading back worked out for you guys on a few different levels. You picked up the extra pick. You got Christian at 17. And then in the meantime, the Steelers jumped the Jets there and took Broderick Jones. So how much do you keep tabs on what division rivals might be looking for too?
We keep tabs on all the teams, not just our division rivals. With the trade that transpired here this week, the Jets going from right in front of us to right behind us certainly shifted things. And then for us to kind of jump right back behind them and give Pittsburgh the opportunity to come up and select a player who they selected, which, when you make these trades, you don't know who the other team is coming up for. But again, we try and do our research and, try and have a feeling as far as positionally, what a team might be looking for. And, that's Steve Cargile and his team, really working hard on the team needs. We've got all that posted right there in the draft room and try and be cognizant of what the teams are looking for. So, maybe had an idea of what maybe Pittsburgh was looking for. Certainly didn't know if that was going to be accurate, and then certainly didn't know what player it was going to be. But there started to be a little bit of a run there on the tackles. That position group was thinning out. If you wanted one of those guys, you have to come up and get them.
Thank you.
Next question, Jim McBride, followed by Andrew Callahan.
Hey, Matt, I was just wondering what Christian's visit was like for you guys, and was there something that really stood out to you about him in your one-on-one with him?
Yeah, didn't get to visit with Christian when I was out there at practice in August, but we finally got to meet at the Combine. Very positive interaction in Indianapolis, And then I think you're alluding to had Christian in here for a 30 visit. That seems like a long time ago. I feel like he was maybe one of the earlier 30s. But it's great to be able to have those guys in the building, and we have so many people in the organization who then are able to be able to get a feel for that player, and really Christian's got hopefully a little bit of a comfort level here. He knows the layout of the building. He knows the nutritionist. He knows the different support structure that's going to be here for him, and try and put him in the best position to succeed. And just gives us greater familiarity with him, and that comfort level builds up with that player. So another player from a 30 list that we were able to select, go along with you guys will have to look it up, maybe 4 or 5 of those guys from last year. So it's definitely what we do, and how we've got the schedule set up for the players. It's really a productive session when we can get these guys in there.
Thanks.
Next question, Andrew Callahan, followed by Mike Reese.
Hey, Matt, I got 2 for you. One, what, if any, input did Adrian Clem have in the process, obviously, with their overlap last season? And how did Christian's improvement, specifically with tackling and his ball skills, maybe make him more the prospect that he was when you took him at 17?
Unique situation when you've got a coach on your staff. We've got enough relations with some great coaches around the country, and certainly with Coach Lanning, and getting to know him down at Georgia, and Marshall Malco, who really runs their personnel. Got great relationships there, but you got a coach who's on your staff. You're getting you're getting the truth on the player, good and bad. And so that allows you, again, there's that comfort level. So, Coach Clem, was with Christian for, call it 8 months. So definitely a great resource, just, like I alluded to, Coach O'Brien being at Alabama, not only just college players, but his time with the Texans, helping us out free agency wise. So we spent a lot of time trying to get to know who these guys are, as players and as people. So definitely appreciate Coach Clem's input.
And then how about his tackling and ball skills? They seem to really make an improvement his junior season.
So finished with, I believe, 4 interceptions this year. Really came on towards the end of the year. A couple of them against Colorado, one against Oregon State. Some impressive plays. You saw his ability to catch the ball at the combine. So feel pretty good about Christian being able to bring him in.
And the last 2 questions will go Mike Reese, followed by Mark Daniels.
Hey, Matt, once Washington's pick was in, can you describe how quickly things went on your end with making the Gonzalez pick? You guys get 10 minutes. It seemed like you weren't really waiting around too long on that one, if I saw it right, based on the TV presentation of it.
Yeah, again, we're trying to do our research. We're trying to stay ahead of things. Had a pretty good inclination as to who Washington was going to take. So we were able to quickly discuss which direction we wanted to go. Teams have to wait a little bit here in the first round before they get their picks in. So we knew at least we didn't know, but we had a pretty good feeling as to how Washington was going to play it out. So that sped things along for us. And again, it's nice when you've got a consensus on a player. So from the staff to coaching staff to the scouts, we're fairly unified, grade wise on Christian. So that just sped the process along.
And last question, Mark Daniels.
Matt, just curious, do you ever look at the history of, recent rookies? For example, I was thinking last year, Tariq Woolen and obviously Sauce Gardner for the Jets both played really well. And the year before, you had Patrick Surtain and Asante Samuel Jr. It just seems like really talented cornerbacks are coming into the NFL and playing sort of immediately? And when you're evaluating corners, do you see anything different just to suggest, there are younger, more talented players coming into the league, and just wondering if anything like that plays into, the scouting on someone like Christian?
A lot of that just depends on the player's background, their experience. So you've got a guy like Christian from Dallas. That's pretty heavy football territory. The 7-on-7 leagues. This is football in certain parts of the country. It is 12 months a year, and you certainly see that in the development of some of these skill position players who are in these 7-on-7 leagues. They're on their own team, and then once their regular season is over, they're right back in it, and they're playing football all year long. So I think that the proliferation of these 7-on-7 leagues has sped some of the development in the skill positions. I won't step on your toes here, Stacy, too much, but I know it's late, and I want to make sure everybody's got what they need. So we can take a couple more here if that's all right with you, Stacy.
Sure. If anyone wants to ask a final couple questions here, we have Andrew Callahan.
Matt, first of all, thank you for taking a couple extra minutes here. The comment about knowing or having a good feeling that Washington would take Forbes, it sounds like almost then when you made the deal with Pittsburgh, and not to put words in your mouth, they wanted an offensive tackle. Jets probably don't go corner. Forbes to Washington. Did you have a sense when you made the initial trade that Christian could still be there for you at 17?
There was a feeling that he might still be available. We thought he was a good player. Would have certainly understood, if he wasn't. You listed off those teams, but, we had just traded. So you can't just count on, okay, well, we know these teams. They're not going to take a corner or whatnot. It changes so quickly. So it's tough to say really, okay, well, this guy's going to be there. I think it really came more down to having a comfort level on multiple players, to be able to pick up a pick and really just give us that much more currency in the fourth round. I couldn't guarantee that Christian was going to be there, but felt good that a player that we felt good about would be there.
And then just any quick sense when you look at the talent left over for day two, what strikes you about the group of players positionally, offense versus defense? What do you see?
I think it's still fairly well balanced. I think we're the 15th pick here in the second round. Have those fourth round picks does give us a little bit of currency. We'll have to, take a more in-depth look here in the morning. We'll regroup, look at some of these, players that we've got. Go through a couple different scenarios, as a staff, and do our best to plot it out here for the second and third round, just like we did, in the lead up here for the first round.
Thanks again, Matt.
I see two more hands raised, so we're going to go with Jim McBride and Evan Lazar. Go ahead, Jim.
Thanks for sticking around, Matt. Appreciate it. Just wondering, without giving away any state secrets, if you could tell us what the next 24 hours are kind of like for you and your staff.
Try and get home. Try and get some sleep. We'll have lots of names, different scenarios running through my mind. Hopefully, most importantly, be able to kiss my kids good morning, and then head on back here fairly early. Start watching some guys, start doing some comparisons, and again, looking at the teams ahead of us, different scenarios, moving up, moving back. Moving up was in play today. We ended up moving back. We're always very flexible, try and do what's best for the football team and try and put together the best team possible, whether that's moving up or, again, collecting another pick to kind of strike in the heart of the draft and call it the third, fourth rounds here.
Thank you.
And last question, Evan Lazar.
Hey Matt, echo everybody else and say thanks for staying on with us. I just wanted to ask you, Christian seemed like on film that he played a bunch of different coverage schemes at Oregon. I was just curious how you would describe their defensive system and some of the different things that he was able to do there.
Yeah, he's playing for Tosh Lupoy, who's got a really extensive background, being at Alabama, having experience in the pros. So Tosh is a very well detailed coach with a lot of good experience. Certainly with his time with Coach Saban down at Alabama. And then with what Coach Lanning has brought from Georgia, again with Coach Smart at Georgia, and again their experience with Coach Saban at Alabama. So he was able to be around some of the top coaches in college football, and hopefully that experience and that knowledge, that education will only speed his development here to the NFL. But for all these guys, it's a big jump, and it'll just be upon Christian to get up to speed as possible, as quickly as possible, and looking forward to working with them and helping them do that.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you all. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Congrats.